What's the wildest way you got revenge quietly? I worked at this marketing company downtown where respect was basically extinct. My coworker Brian was the worst kind of guy. He'd take credit for everyone's work, steal people's lunches from the break room fridge, and leave the shared kitchen looking like a disaster zone. He was one of those guys who acted like he owned the place, even though he was just another regular employee like the rest of us. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night when I'd spent the entire evening preparing this massive presentation for our biggest client. I'm talking 12 hours straight, ordering pizza to my desk, missing dinner with my roommate, the whole thing. I had charts, graphics, market analysis, everything perfectly laid out. The next morning, I walked into that conference room feeling proud of what I'd accomplished. Brian strolled in 5 minutes late, coffee in hand, acting like he owned the world. When our boss asked who prepared the presentation, Brian didn't even hesitate. He jumped right in, taking full credit for my work. He stood there explaining my research, my ideas, my charts like he'd thought of everything himself. I sat there watching him get praised by the client while I might as well have been invisible. That's when I realized Brian had one weakness: his coffee obsession. This guy was completely addicted to caffeine. He'd brag constantly about needing his perfect morning brew to function properly. He'd actually throw tantrums if the coffee machine broke down or if someone used the last of his special beans. He treated that coffee like it was liquid gold. So I started my quiet revenge. Every morning before Brian got to work, I'd swap out his regular coffee beans with decaf. I made sure to brew a fresh pot and even labeled it extra strong roast, just to mess with him. The first couple days, he didn't notice anything wrong, but by the end of the first week, things started getting interesting. Brian began showing up to meetings looking exhausted. He'd yawn during presentations and zone out when clients were talking. The guy who usually strutted around the office like some kind of king was suddenly stumbling through his days. He started missing deadlines, forgetting important details, and making careless mistakes on projects. But I wasn't done yet. Phase 2 involved a little creativity. Whenever Brian left his coffee mug sitting on the counter, which he did constantly, I'd stir in just a tiny bit of lemon juice. Not enough to taste obvious, but just enough to ruin the flavor and make him question everything. Brian became convinced something was wrong with our office coffee machine. He spent over $200 trying to fix the problem. New filters, professional cleaning, premium coffee beans from some fancy roaster across town. Nothing worked. I watched him get more frustrated every single day. He'd take a sip of his coffee, make this disgusted face, then spend 20 minutes adjusting settings on the machine. Meanwhile, my own productivity was soaring. Without Brian stealing my ideas and taking credit for my work, clients started noticing what I was actually capable of. They began requesting me specifically for projects and praising my creativity in meetings. My boss started giving me bigger assignments and more responsibility. The final nail in Brian's coffin came during our monthly team meeting. Our boss was announcing the lead role on a huge new account, something Brian had been angling for all year. Instead of calling Brian's name like everyone expected, she looked directly at me and said I'd earned the promotion through consistent, excellent work and client satisfaction. Brian's face went completely white. He tried to object, mumbling something about seniority and experience, but our boss cut him off. She mentioned how his recent performance had been inconsistent and unreliable. The whole room watched as reality hit him. His coffee addiction had basically destroyed his career prospects. 3 months later, Brian got transferred to a different department,